On today's show, what is the key to the LA Clippers being a top 6 seed this year that doesn't involve the two-star players? Going to be talking about that on today's Locked On Off-Season Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and going into my 20th season as a Clipper fan this fall. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dime Dropper Pod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, LA Sports, and NBA content. And right now, seeing my English soccer world tour, or nationwide tour, I should say. Check it out. Some crazy videos. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. I want you to let me know what you think of what I'm about to say in this video about the key to the Clippers being a top 6 seed with even, the biggest key to them being a top 6 seed that doesn't even involve James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. Before we get started, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Head over to FanDuel.com to download it. But yeah, let's get it started. New week, Clipper Nation. Hope you're all doing well. I am still overseas in London, so if you notice the alternate background, my weird camera positioning, looking at the camera, looking away. I got so many different setups right now. And I'm having a great time, though. I just attended probably what was the loudest sporting event I've ever been to, even louder than Game 6 of the Curse Breaker game and Game 7 against San Antonio. Tottenham versus Arsenal, for those that are familiar, the North London derby. That was unbelievable. And, just adding to the list of incredible sporting experiences that I've been blessed to have in my life. But let's talk about the Clippers, right? Now, everybody knows we lost Paul George this summer, and we are not picked to do as well as last year, of course. Going from a big three to a dynamic duo, and with the injury concerns of Kawhi Leonard, one guy gets injured, whether it is Kawhi or James Harden, that's going to put us in a very tough situation. For me, the key is Ivica Zubac. Point blank, end of story. The key for the Clippers to be a top 6 seed is to make Ivica Zubac the third option, the clear-cut third option with no, controversy or no debate. Now, Norman Powell might average the third most points, but I want Zoo to be fed more. I want Norman Powell to score off of shots that are created by other guys like Kawhi and James Harden. And, you don't really give the ball to Norm and say, go get a bucket. You don't really say, Norm, let's have a high pick and roll with you as a ball handler, and let's see if we can get a good shot. It's mostly catch and shoot Norm, attacking closeouts Norm. Occasionally, he can maybe get to a pull-up, usually going to, I was going to say going to his left, but he's so good going to his right. The point is, though, I think Zoo's got to be that guy. And I know there's a lot of people out there that still don't like Zoo. They don't think he's good enough. They think he has all these flaws. And we're going to talk about the flaws at the very end. I'll talk about my statistical projection in the second segment. But right now, I'm just talking about the concept of it all. Zoo has some of the best touch in the league. If you look at the percentages around the basket, he's up there with the best of them in the league today. He's got a great right-hand jump hook, and he's really always had that since he's come to the Clippers. He, in the last couple of years, has added a left-handed jump hook to his arsenal, and there are not a lot of guys in the league with jump hooks over both shoulders anymore. It's not something that's emphasized with the back-to-basket game being so devalued now. It's not something that's appreciated either by coaching staffs and whatnot, because the post-up has been, deemed a non-efficient play or source of offense these days, which I think is a load of BS. It really depends who you have in the post. If you look at Nikola Jokic, and I'm not comparing Jokic to Zoo by any means, but Jokic's post-ups, I think, were the most efficient source of offense in the NBA about 2 years ago. So you can still, in the modern NBA, get good stuff out of the post. If it's a Zubac, he actually has a decent post game. Now, he doesn't have no dream shake. He doesn't have a turnaround mid-range. He doesn't have that. But if he catches the ball in the low post on the block, which I actually think Zoo does a pretty good job of getting deep post position, which is a skill that a lot of people don't have and a lot of fans don't see. I hate the way post-game is talked about today. And this is coming from a guy who was a smaller guard, only was a face-up player growing up. I rarely post up. Now if I play against like my kids, like the kids I coach and stuff, I'll mess around and post up because I get to. And I have the height advantage or whatnot. And it's fun. But I've always been a face-up guy, a guard. But because I've been so, unfortunate in terms of seeing great big men in my time watching basketball, I really appreciate a good post-up big man. And you know what else really makes me appreciate Zoo and his touch around the basket in his post-game is having to see DeAndre Jordan not being able to make a jump hook or have any touch around the basket for all those years. No disrespect to DJ, probably the greatest center in the history of the Clippers if you don't count Bob McAdoo, but the guy had zero touch around the basket. I prefer the game of Ivica Zubac, the skill set of Ivica Zubac to DeAndre Jordan. My biggest issue with Zoo is I feel like we've wasted that talent because of the post-up not being deemed an efficient play, because he's not a star player, and we have James Harden, and we had Paul George and Kawhi. We don't think, let's feed Zoo. And not all of this is on Ty Lue. Some of it's on the players, but Ty Lue and the coaching staff have to make an effort to feed Zoo. What I hate about this whole thing about post-ups and big men today is that, like the Suns used to do it with DeAndre Ayton. You give the ball to these guys in the first quarter, they score a couple times in the post, and then you never go back to them for the rest of the game. I remember I used to criticize Chris Paul for that in Phoenix because Ayton is, to me, even more skilled than Zoo. But he doesn't have much dog in him, one, but also he didn't get fed enough, in my opinion, as the games went on in Phoenix. And so he just kind of became a pick-and-roll guy. And that's kind of what Zoo becomes as games go on, is just a screener and a roller. If I'm being honest, I think Zoo's an okay roller. I think he's a very good screen setter, but he doesn't have he doesn't really get off the ground. He's not a vertical threat. So he's not the best roller in the world. His best skill offensively to me is his touch around the basket, and we don't use it because we want to use him as just a role-playing, screen-setting big, and I think that is not right. I think we need to make an effort as a coaching staff and as a team to give him the ball, especially when he added that left-handed jump hook. I mean, they used to just sit on his left shoulder, and he had nothing, and now he actually has something. We saw glimpses of it in the playoffs against Dallas. He can do it. I'm not asking for a lot. I'm not asking us to run our offense through him all the time. I'm not even asking us to run our offense through him more than Kawhi and James. But how about 5 low post touches a game? Is that a lot to ask? Because we are a team that struggles to get in the paint. So why not throw it to our big man 6 feet away from the basket, especially if he's working hard for post position? And a lot of times he is, and we look him off, and it infuriates me. So we have a post-up big. We have a guy with touch. Let's actually utilize him this year. That's my main takeaway. We got to. Otherwise, we're just going to make our lives tougher and just play a bunch of face-up basketball with slow players and 2-star players that don't get in the paint that much anymore. Zoo is a luxury. He's entering his prime. We just signed him to a bigger contract. Let's actually use the guy. And I don't care what you Zoo haters have to say, because you only see athleticism. You don't see the skill in the post because it's not valued anymore. And I hate that it's not valued. It's a load of BS. And I think one of the biggest reasons why the hesitancy comes with Zoo is because passing out of the double team, he hasn't shown to be great at that yet, but you don't get better without getting reps in game. And we haven't given him those reps to improve on that skill. So that's what we have to do. If it's a Zubac, feed the guy. If we can get him to, actually, you know what? In terms of the stats, I'm going to be talking about what I think his stats can be, but what I think they need to be coming up. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about it. It's America's #1 sports book. But we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. For opening night, the Knicks are plus 5.5. Honestly, they have a good matchup with the Celtics. I might take that. And then the Minnesota Timberwolves are -1 against the Lakers. I would take the Wolves on that. because I think they could beat the Lakers on opening night by a couple of points. Lakers haven't done much on opening night the last couple of years. So if you want to do that for NBA, you want to bet on NFL, just go to FanDuel.com. All right, so back talking about Ivica Zubac and how the Clippers need to use him to, kind of mitigate what's going to be lost with Paul George. And right now I'm going to talk about the stats. So, I did talk about the emphasis in the first segment. Let's talk about what we want to see numbers-wise. I think the first thing that we need to see is the minutes. The first, I'm just going to read off his minutes played per game since he came to the Clippers. 2018-19, 20 minutes a game. 2019-20, 18 minutes a game. 2021, 22. And then the last 3 seasons have been his career high in minutes. 2022 was 24 minutes per game. And then 2023 at this point was actually his highest minutes per game season with 28.6. And the reason that was because we didn't have a backup center for the longest time until we got Mason Plumlee. We had Moses Brown and Moussa Diabate kind of switching off, and we also were just playing small ball 5 and not really we were naive enough to believe that we could just go on an NBA season without a backup 5. And so Zoo did get 29 minutes a game, and he averaged 11 and 10 essentially, 10.8 points per game, 9.9 rebounds per game. He was half the reason why in the beginning of the season when Kawhi and Paul George were out, our defense was keeping us in, play-in territory and whatnot because of his rim protection. This past season, we had Mason Plumlee from the beginning of the season, so we had a backup center, and he actually averaged 2 less minutes a game, which I don't like given that he's a developing player that's getting closer to his prime. He was 26 this past season, he's going to be 27 now, or this upcoming season. And he's already turned 27, by the way. He turned 27 in March. So by the playoffs, he was 27 years old. And he got less minutes than 2023. So if he had 26.4 minutes last season and averaged 12 and 9, 11.7 points per game, 9.2 rebounds, I've always said if you give Zubac 30 minutes a game, he will average a double-double. And I don't know why we don't give him 30 minutes a game, which poses the question, is it due to stamina? Is that the thing? Does he not have the energy to play 30 minutes a game? Because, at this point, I think we have to try it. We have to give him 30 minutes per game to see what he can handle. If that's the reason why he doesn't get 30 minutes, then maybe he's not the center that I think he is. But until I see that he cannot do that, we've got to play him 30 minutes a game. So this season, 30 minutes a game, it's really non-negotiable, especially when our backup center is more known for a Sheck West song than his actual basketball ability. The Mo Bamba, he has not proven anything in the NBA. The Philadelphia 76ers fans are telling me that he's not a good basketball player and all this. And look, I don't like saying that anyone's in the NBA is not a good basketball player because obviously these guys are incredible. But for NBA standards, Mo Bamba has not shown anything that makes me think that he's an actual guy that's going to last in this league. He came in with all this hype out of Texas. He was on the Magic. And the only thing I've seen from Mo Bamba is, he can make an occasional pick and pop 3. So moral of the story is Zubac has to be played 30-plus minutes a game. Now, if he plays 30-plus minutes a game, I think he will secure that double-double no problem. But we're going to need a little bit more than just a double-double for him to be this clear-cut third option that I want that will guarantee us a playoff foot finish, top 6 finish. I think a nice target for Zoo this year would be to average 15 points a game. 15 points a game would be his career high by a significant margin by, about 3+ points, and then 10 rebounds. 15 and 10 on about 60+% shooting. Last season, he averaged 65% shooting, which was his highest of any season of his career. And a lot of that is, second highest. In 2021, he averaged 65.2% from the field. This past season, 64.9%. And a lot of that's because of James Harden. He's the best pick-and-roll player that Zubac has ever played with. And he's given him a lot of bunnies around the rim. And now that as I mentioned in one of the previous episodes this week, or last week, Harden having that chemistry with Zoo, that training camp with Zoo, might even increase their chemistry. It won't hurt it. So Zoo and Harden, make sure to watch that connection, especially with James Harden gonna, he's going to have to be even more of an integral part of our offense this year. I mean, obviously we ran everything so much through him last season, as any team that James Harden is on becomes run through him, the system, of course. But without Paul George, it's just going to be even more Harden pick and roll, and you're going to want to see Zubac and his chemistry, continue to improve, and I think it will. And Zoo has great touch around the rim. Even though he's not a great vertical threat, as I mentioned earlier, if he catches the ball around the basket close enough, he'll just go right up and he'll finish strong. That little push shot's gotten a lot better over the last couple of seasons. But yeah, 15 and 10. That's my mark for him. He's got to get 15 and 10, 30-plus minutes a game, 60-plus% from the field. He's shot 60-plus% from the field in every full season that he's played for us. Every full season he's played for us, he's shot 60-plus%, which is great, by the way. No matter what you think, he's only shooting layups. Don't matter. Not all of them are wide open. Some of them are in traffic. Some of them are he's catching on the pick and roll and has to put it up right away. Some of them are jump hooks over the top of guys. So shooting 60-plus% in the NBA, if you're shooting, unless you're just shooting dunks like DeAndre Jordan, it's impressive. But that's my target number for Zoo this year, 15 and 10. But coming up, going to talk a little bit more about the concerns with Ivica Zubac and what can potentially go wrong that, basically nullifies everything that I've talked about. Going to be talking about that coming up. All right. So, moral of this story, this episode, is the key to the LA Clippers not taking a dip like everybody thinks is if it's a Zubac and making him more of a focal point offensively. You already know what he's going to do defensively. What he does to our defense cannot be put into just stats. He's a drop coverage big, and he's a great rim protector. But that is kind of one of his weaknesses per se, is that he really is only a drop big. He's not a guy that's going to switch onto the perimeter, which, by the way, is completely overblown in the sense of how many bigs are actually doing that well today, actually switching 1 through 5. The defensive player of the year last year was Rudy Gobert, and he is a drop coverage specialist. Now, I'm not saying the Zoo is as good as Gobert or he's on that level defensively. By the way, offensively, though, I'm taking Zubac over Gobert in a heartbeat. But he's primarily a drop big too. Now, the one thing that teams are hesitant to do in today's game because of the way this floor is spaced is they don't like sending their big out to blitz or hedge the ball screens, because it puts 2 on the ball, and then if one pass is made properly, then it's 4-on-3 situation. Your defense is in rotation. I saw a little bit more in the playoffs and right before the playoffs of Ty Lue being willing to send Zoo out to the perimeter to hedge screens. And I have no problem with that at all. But as I said, today's NBA, it's usually just mainly drop or switch. Or hard blitz. The hedging and recovering, they don't usually do that because usually you'll concede an open 3 given the spacing. But it would be nice to see more of a variety of coverages from Ty Lue and the Clippers coaching staff when it comes to Zoo, so he's not just a drop big. If someone's walking into threes, we want to be able to have Zoo blitz and not get the corner turned on him. But in terms of drop coverage, Zoo's pretty fantastic. I think he knows angles well. He has good timing on his shot blocks. He's strong. I noticed it right away when he came to the Clippers. He was a different presence than Marcin Gortat. He was a totally different presence around the basket. So I would say one of the weaknesses is that he's only shown to be a drop big so far. If teams are killing us with that mid-range or that floater and drop coverage, then Zoo looks like he's getting exploited. But I think a lot of the criticism on Zoo is super unfair because a lot of it comes down to, Zubac isn't even contesting that shot when he's literally having to guard 2 guys at once because our point of attack defense isn't strong enough. And I think this season, people are going to say when they see the season and see how good our defense is, Zubac has gotten even better defensively this year. And I think he might, but I think a lot of it's just going to be, we're going to have better point of attack guys with Nico, with Derrick Jones Jr., with Chris Dunn, that it's going to make Zoo look better when they are staying attached on those ball screens. And now Zoo's not having to play 2 at once. Or maybe he does for a half a second as opposed to 2 seconds. You know what I mean? And that all makes a difference at the NBA level. So that's one weakness, I'd say. The lack of versatility on his pick and roll defense. And then here's another thing about Zoo. His bad games are really, really bad. I don't know why that is. I think part of it is mentally. I think he loses confidence at times. His bad games, he looks soft. It looks like he's fumbling the ball. It looks like he's just not going up strong. He's getting blocked constantly. Those games are too frequent for a player of his caliber. His lows shouldn't be that low. And I think that's one of my concerns and critiques of Zoo. But I'll tell you what, one thing, if you want to know how to tell if Zoo is, kind of in the mood, so to speak, for war, is if he's trying to go up for dunks. When he's in the mood for dunking, that's when you know he's fired up. So hopefully we get to see more Zoo dunks this year. Let me see what his dunking numbers were actually. I think that's a fairly interesting statistic to look at in this context, given what I said. Let's see. Dunks. 2021, he had 139. 2023, 130. And then last season, 112. So with only 4 less games played than 2021, he had 27 less dunks. So let's see if we can get that number higher. Let's see 140 dunks. Let's see that this season. Let's see him set a career high in dunks. Because when he's dunking, as I said, it shows that he's on a different type of time. The other weakness of Zoo is he can't really shoot, or he hasn't been allowed to shoot mid-ranges. I remember there was a phase when we first got him that you saw him shoot a little bit of a mid-range, and it wasn't bad. But we kind of have either not let him shoot that anymore, or he just doesn't shoot it. But it makes it so that we don't have a pick and pop threat with him. It's just a pick and roll threat, and he's not a great roller. Like, he's a good screen setter, but I don't think he's as I said, he's not a vertical threat. So when he gets the ball, a lot of times it's not a quick finish. He kind of brings it down. Sometimes the defender recovers, but he just hits the jump hook over the top. So, because he's still a very skilled big. I think that's one of his weaknesses, though, not being a pick and pop threat at all and not being the best roller. So people, in today's NBA, the 2 things that people really want are stretch bigs that can switch, a la Kristaps Porzingis, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo. These are the wanted commodities. The thing is, there aren't as many of these people as you think. And Kristaps Porzingis, for example, is extremely, injury prone. He basically wasn't even a part of their title run this year in the playoffs. But, what makes Boston interesting is they have 2 of those guys that can do it. Al Horford, at his old age, was able to switch on to guys like Luka in the finals. I mean, that guy he's an underrated talent in terms of the history of the game, Al Horford. I think he's put up a Hall of Fame case. But the point is, Zoo, that's not his style. I don't think we need him to be a switchable big, but the fact that he's not a switchable big or a pick and pop big, that turns a lot of modern fans off. Me, obviously, I have a little bit more of an old school lens, and I value the post game. And I think Zoo's flaws were magnified when we had Westbrook because we had 2 non-shooters. So it made the spacing a little tighter. Now that Russ is gone, we're usually when Zoo's in the game, we're not going to have any other non-shooters out there. So it's just going to be him as the inside guy and then 4 guys around the perimeter, which will give him some space to operate. And speaking of space to operate, one of the other flaws is passing out of the double team, as I mentioned earlier. He's not great at that yet. He may never be great at it. But as long as he's good at it, that's all that matters. Or decent at it, that's all that matters. Doesn't even need to be good, quite frankly. If he's decent at it, that will be all that matters because we need him. We need him to get the ball, and the only way we're going to let him get better at that is by giving him the reps. You don't just say, oh, you can't pass out of the double team when he gets 3 doubles a season because you don't pass the ball to him in the post. So that's the key for me. So my overall concerns are, right so far, Zoo has really only shown that he's a drop big. We need to see maybe some ability to hedge out on the perimeter. And it was starting to look better last season, but hopefully a lot of that comes down to the scheme though with Ty Lue. Is he going to allow Zoo to blitz, to hedge, or is he strictly going drop? think that'll be something to pay attention to. And then passing out of double teams and stuff like that, you got to get reps. You know what I'm saying? I've not seen enough to say, oh, Zoo can't pass out of the double teams. A couple years ago, Anthony Davis couldn't pass out of double teams. And last season, he grew a lot in that respect. So if Anthony Davis wasn't great at it, you can give Ivica Zubac some leeway and give him a chance. And as far as the bad games, I just really hope that the lows aren't as low, that he stays focused mentally, and that experience makes him a stronger player. Experience, confidence, that all matters. And oftentimes it just felt like Zoo lost confidence. He's on the younger side, but now he's 27. He's in his prime. He's starting his prime. He's got to be mentally tough. He's battle-tested. He's been to a conference finals. He's been to the playoffs multiple years. He's got to put it all together now. So overall, the key to the Clippers being better than people think is Ivica Zubac being the third option, clear-cut, and really feeding him the ball, as I said, at least 5 times a game. Can he average 15 and 10? Because if he can, we're in good shape. He needs to get 30-plus minutes a game. And, of course, there are some concerns, but, if I did this episode for DeAndre Jordan back when we had him, there would have been a lot of concerns, and I think some that are more detrimental to winning basketball than Zoo. To championship basketball, I should say, not winning basketball, because Clippers in Lob City days did a lot of winning, but it wasn't championship level. And that's what we're striving towards. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for insane content that I'm having on this trip. The age-old proverb continues, Zubac is the key. Go Clippers.